Good morning, everybody. I'm sorry about the delay. Welcome, everybody who's here. I wanted to jump here real quick because yesterday I was having a conversation with somebody and, discussing Colin. There's a couple of things and somebody else put a comment this morning. So I'm going to be a little distracted because, what happens is when I get in these calls and these conversations come up, right? There's Everybody has a different idea. I noticed something that in regards to Colin, and it's has to do with the fact that he made a great effort in trying to justify that he was picked up, but it was never discussed. How did he get there? How did he get there? I mean, why would he have to be picked up? Who dropped him off? The timing of the entire event also, it's a little sort of weird because we all know that they're trying to push the times to fit um, their own narrative, right? So in an effort to clarify a couple of things, because I do think that Colin was at the house. Everybody knows that he was at the house. The question is, can we somewhat find a common ground on in logic, at least, right? That can give us enough information to prove that he was at the house. So when we're touching this topic, right, it's one of the most sort of like debated gaps in the timeline because it's sort of tied up around the same time that John died. Now, a short answer is not going to hack it here because we don't have a lot of the extractions or information or evidence that ties to a lot of other people other than Jen McCabe, Karen Reed, and John O'Keefe. We were not able to secure any phone extractions, locations, GPS data, or anything like that in regards to anybody else. So we're using whatever information we have that is coming from the dash cam, the some of the information that we gather from the testimony. And there are a lot of people out there that are like focused on testimony. Like if they said it on testimony, that's what I'm going to go by. Well, you can't do that all of the time because how do you know that 100% every single one of these witnesses provided a testimony that was truthful and, free of lies and deceit? We don't know that. So people keep questioning, and this is how we sort of make sense of it all, right? Is breaking it down. We try to break it down based on the testimony, the public discussion, the facts that we have, and the fact that he was already there. This is just a version. I don't know if you sort of like can follow my thought process in this one, but for me, that is a version, right? That he was already there. And the fact that they made an effort to say that he was already there made me, or, push me to believe, what if he wasn't? Because at the end of the day, the only certainty I have is that most of the people that jumped in this court, in this trial, and serve as a witness, they were serving as witness for each other, sort of like trying to cover for each other, right? That's the perception of the general public, at least the majority of us. So personally, I feel that that's exactly what they were trying to do. They were trying to cover for each other and especially protect their own. Now, a few comments came about on my last stream, and they were asking, "Well, do you think that they were covering for Higgins? Do you think no? They were definitely not covering for Higgins. There was no reason for any of these people to cover for Higgins at all. They were covering for their own. And some of them, in the case of Brian Higgins, I guess he had to, right? He gave Brian Albert, let's say, his word that he was not going to rat them out. I don't know. I mean, that's just us thinking, right? But The he was already there version makes me think, what if he wasn't? So I don't know if you remember when we were talking about, and I'm going to pull it up, when we were talking about Valence, Kenton, library, Karen Reed, when we were talking about the car and Kenton and, and which car follows who and all of that stuff, at the same time that the Yukon left from the waterfall, it was followed by a white 4H. I don't know if you all remember. There was a white 4H that followed the Yukon Denali. Now, if we continue on that path, because we all know that Brian Albert did have a white Forescape. I'm sorry, a Forescape. He said it himself that he had a Forescape and it used to be driven by the kids. It was an older Forescape and whatnot, right? So if I move to the Canton Library, right around the time where the Yukon is seen, right? I'm going to try to bring it up exactly at this exact mark so you guys can see what I'm saying. Give me 1 second. A little congested this morning, but other than that, we're doing fine. Um, Here we go. So I found it. And so I'm going to do a little recap, right? At 12:13, 36 or so, the Yukon leaves with Matt McCabe. Jen McCabe is driving, and I am putting my hand on the fact that, what's his name? Chris Albert is in the back of that Yukon. Okay, that's the time that they left from the waterfall. And I'm going to try to see if I can pull it up too. I don't want to play with a lot of the tabs at the same time because I don't want you guys to lose audio or whatnot. So I'm going to try to keep this as simple as possible and use one screen at a time as far as sharing goes. So if I go to this, there we go. And let me confirm before anything, right? Hold on. Hold on. Oops. Huh, interesting. I see. Okay. That should do it. And Why can't I get that picture out of there? Hmm. This is when Jimmy becomes helpful, I guess. That's what everybody else says. I'll figure it out. I'm stressing out. I really dislike wasting people's time. Um, can't go any further than what I'm going. Oh, bear with me. I'm tempted to end it. I guess it seems like maybe. Here we go. Thank God. Okay, so now that that's there, now I need to make this one bigger. Okay. So I'm going to, yep. And now I'm going to, there we go. Okay, so fine. Here we go. So this is right at, I'm gonna say, yeah, there's a Jeep that goes to the side, and here's Jen McCabe coming in. See her? And it's right at 12:14:49. And then she's already got Dawn on the phone, right? And there's the car. So 12:14:49 and then 12:15:25, just a few minutes after. There is the Forescape, the white Forescape. I'm going to try to find some pictures to show you because in the morning of, not the morning of, but that car, there's pictures out there that show that car parked in that driveway. Like in their 3-lane driveway, typically it was the Ford Explorer that it was is a government vehicle issued by Boston police that was assigned to Brian Albert. Then next to it, to the right, is always was the middle lane, and it was Nicole's blue Cadillac, right? The blue 2020 2021 Cadillac SUV. And then right after that, there's the white Forescape. Ryan Albert testified that his kids used to drive. So I'm going to bring this up too and let you know. But I have Colin's. I have Colin's testimony here. I'm going to try to share as well. And I'm just going to confirm real quick that you guys are able to listen to it. But, I have a feeling that one of the lies is that Colin was already there. Because one, why would they even make an effort to say that? Why would they all say, they all coincided that Colin was already there? Why was it important to say Colin was already there? I'll tell you why. Because if Colin wasn't already there and he was actually also hanging out at the waterfall parking lot, then it further supports our idea that this was supposed to happen at the waterfall parking lot. But Jen didn't manage to separate Karen from John. Keith said that Jen said, well, you're coming with me, right? The whole idea was to separate Karen from John from the waterfall bar. There had been prior fights years prior at the waterfall bar. So remember, practice makes perfect? They already knew the layout of that parking lot, the caddy corner that is to the side. There's a couple of condos and apartments that people stay there too, right around the same side of where the bar is. That's where the fight was going to happen. If there was if there was a fight that was planned, it was going to be at the waterfall. Nobody can tell me that anybody wanted this fight to happen at somebody's house, right? It- that doesn't make any sense. But Jen didn't succeed separating Karen from John at the waterfall bar. So if the lie lays in the fact that Colin was already at the house and that is actually not true, then that means that this little car here, this Ford Escape that followed the Yukon, the same route on Washington to Sherman to 34 Fairview, was being driven by Colin, or Colin was inside that car. And that's how he got in that car. That's the only explanation. That's the only logical explanation. He was already at the house. So who dropped him off there? How did he get there? Then we take a pause for a second. And the whole testimony becomes, well, Ali picked me up. Well, Colin wasn't at the house when John was at the house. How do you know that, Ali? How do you know that? Well, he was calling so and so and Thomas Beatty's daughter to go pick him up. Okay, so how did he get there? Chris was at the house too. His mom and dad were at the house. So something here doesn't click. And I think we just got into a very interesting portion, right? Because one, this is all about Colin. Two, Colin is one of the people that one of the main family members that they've been trying to protect, right? And two, this is exactly what we should be questioning. How was he already there? How was this version of events come about? So if he was at the house earlier that night, in that scenario, there shouldn't be any mystery in regards to how did he get there, right? He's just a part of the group that was inside. But then if he was dropped off, which could be a different version, right? Which is just logic because he didn't get there by himself, then who dropped him off? The problem is that details about who, when, and exactly what time are inconsistent. They're very unclear. So if he had been picked up earlier, like Ali said, he wasn't there when John was at the house, then how is it that we don't know how did Colin get to the house to start out? I know this probably sounds like a riddle, but you can imagine what goes in my head, in my brain, most of the times trying to figure this one out. A lot of people did repeat Colin left before John O'Keefe arrived. That claim was used over and over and over to distance him from critical sort of like timelines, right? Like a window of time. But it immediately raises the question, if he was picked up, how did he originally get there? So why does this matter? A lot of people, oh my God, there she goes again. She's talking about calling Albert and all this stuff and trying to figure it out. And I have seen comments in other chats. Oh, she's trying to figure out who's calling John O'Keefe. She's trying to. Yeah, I am. So believe I'm not wasting your time. If anything, I am putting in my own time. So it matters to me, and it matters because in this type of case, who drove the arrival, the departure times, the ride, the shares are crucial because it anchors every single person to a timeline. It confirms or it contradicts the alibis, right? But it also helps verify the statements of all these witnesses, and we can cross reference and check among them. Now, on public record, at least, what's out there, it doesn't clearly answer any questions as far as either story of any of these witnesses is consistent with one another. So if we look at the differences in all of these people and what they say, and we focus also on the parts where they are all in sync, right? It's almost like they rehearsed certain statements to the T, to memorizing it. So If we focus on those, why don't we focus on the ones that they're also trying to push through and make us believe almost as if they're written on stone? They aren't written on stone. And those are the ones that we should be scrutinizing, right? Between 10:30 p.m. and 11:30 p.m., everybody's at bars. Even I posted a picture not long ago. We found Ryan Nagel, Heather Maxon, and Juliana Nagel's brother. I mean Ryan Nagel's brother in at the CF McCarthy's bar. Then, if we look at the surveillance vehicle, I mean the surveillance video of Canton Library, there's a Ford F-150 running around Washington Street. The same Ford F-150 that Ricky Dantano supposedly drove, right? Which I don't believe that. Ryan Nagel rode shotgun on, and Heather Maxon was right behind Ryan Nagel. So between 11:58, 11:59, let's say midnight, to 12:05, the first group is already left the waterfall and it's already arrived at 34 Fairview, supposedly, right? The house is dark. There's no cars. It doesn't look like there's a party going on in that house, right? But the people who live in that house know exactly what's going on in that house and they know that house. Whoever comes over to this house because they were invited or something, what's going to be the first impression? It doesn't look like there's a party going on here, right? So between 12:21 and 12, let's say 12:15 to 12:24, other people are arriving at this house. If Allie truly went and picked up Colin, she arrived within that window of right. If when John arrived to 34 Fairview was around 12:21, right? But then Ryan Nagel, Ricky Dantano, and Heather Maxon also pull up in their Ford F-150 right behind Karen and bright those lights in the back of the Lexus, right? They also leave, right? If you think about it, at some point, Higgins had to arrive or be somewhere in the perimeter or in the premises of this house because when Karen showed up and pulled up with John, the Jeep wasn't parked by the mailbox, right? And let's assume we don't know anything about the driveway in front of the house, or let's just run with it like it is. Just times between 12 and 12:29 when Karen leaves. Let's show 12:29 when Karen leaves. Let's see. And he turns. There we go. Now, I don't know if you noticed. Let me see if I can show you something. This happened at 12:15 and 35 minutes. But did you see what else happened? The same car, there it is, the same car. I'm going to slow it down for you guys. The same car that left the waterfall. I'm going to put it right there. That left the waterfall at 11:58 from the waterfall at the same time that Nicole, Caitlin, Brian Albert, and Brian Higgins left. There was a black sedan. There it is. That went from the waterfall. There it is. From the waterfall and took this route as if it was going to 34 Fairview. But by the time that Jen and this white Ford Escape leaves, this car is making its way back. So how do I know that potentially it's the same car? First of all, because it looks exactly like the same, and I know it's blurry and I know it's dark. But two, if this car left the waterfall at midnight and it takes 4 minutes to get to 34 Fairview, by the time that it was 12:04, it's already at 24 Fairview, right? So let's say it's dropping somebody off, or this is a car that I don't know. let's just let's just think about it without thinking about other things. This car leaves the waterfall at right at midnight. The route is about 4 or 5 minutes tops to 34 Fairview, which means that by 12:05, that car is already at 34 Fairview, right? It turns around and it's not coming back the same way through Sherman Chapman that it went through. It's coming back the longer way. So guess where it's caught at 12:15 in the morning? Right here, right there. The same car, same car. So Karen is about to move to go through. She's gonna go across Sherman. There she is. She's gonna miss the turn. And that's why she ended up going all the way up Dead End, Oakdale, Cedar Crest, Fairview, right? You see how the car looks like. Now, I've told everybody that Karen had to have left 34 Fairview on or about 12:29 or so, because one, the Bluetooth disconnects from John's phone, and two, because it takes about 6 minutes from 34 Fairview to John's house. So 6 to 7 minutes. So if I go all the way to 12:29, I think it's 10 seconds. Guess who I find? There's a car again. Car is going back and forth, up and down in the middle of a blizzard. Pretty active. At 12:29, here we go. That's, let's see. Slowed it down. 12:28. Okay. Guess who that is? Of 29, 06, 07, 8, 9. It's a four-door. 12:29. It's already 12:30. And we missed it. Hold on. Let it run a little longer. Twelve 28. 20. Can't read. 12:29. Let me see. $12.29. I really dislike it when this thing is 12:29:22. So actually, 02. 12:29:02. And she did come back from the same way that she went. Okay. So going back to Colin Albert.
Good afternoon, sir.
How are you?
Could you please state your name and spell your last name?
Colin Albert, Albert.
And where do you live, sir?
Canton, Mass.
And how long have you lived in Canton?
My whole life.
And who, if anyone, do you live in Canton?
I live with my mother, my father, and my two brothers,
And your mother and your father, what are their names?
Julie and Chris Albert.
And your brothers, what are their names?
Chris and Dylan Albert.
And as far as within the age of you and your two brothers, where do you fall in that?
I am the middle child.
And how old are you, sir?
I'm 20 years old.
And do you work? Do you go to school?
I go to school at Bridgewater State.
And what year are you in?
I am going into my junior year.
Now, sir, if I could turn your attention to January 28th into January 29th of 2022. Do you recall those days?
Yes.
Do you recall what days of the week they were?
I do not.
Do you recall whether it was a weekday, weekend?
Weekend.
And turning your attention to the evening of January 28th, do you recall where you went that night?
Yes, I do.
And just to be clear, around that time, were you in college? Were you in high school? What grade were you in?
I was a senior in high school.
So end of January, you would have been about 4 months away or so from graduation, correct?
Yes, sir.
And on that evening, where did you, at some point, did you leave your home and go out?
Yes, I did.
And do you recall about what time it was that you went out?
I do not remember.
Do you recall whether it was light or dark when you went out?
It was dark.
And where did you, upon leaving your house, where did you go?
So how did he leave his house? How did he leave his house?
I went to one of my buddy's houses.
And how did you get there?
That buddy, what was his name?
Mike.
And where does Mike live in relation to you?
Can you rephrase that?
Does Mike live in?
Where does Mike live in relation to you? Is that like? It's just, I'm not sure what's wrong with these kids.
Canton as well?
Yes, he does.
And about how far is it from your house to Mike's house?
About like 7-8 minutes.
And when you got to
How did you get
Mike's
there?
house, was it just you and Mike, or who, if anyone else, was there?
I do not remember who was there.
Was there more than just the two of you?
Yes.
And generally speaking, when you got to Mike's house, what is it that you did when you got there?
I do not remember.
Now, as far as
Oh my
how
God.
you got from your house to Mike's
Exactly.
house, do you recall how you got there?
No, I do not remember.
Let me ask you this. Did you walk? Did you drive? Did you get a ride?
I got a ride.
Do you recall who you got a ride from?
No.
What do you mean? What do you mean? What the heck do you mean? What do you mean you don't remember who did you get a ride to go to Mike's house? And who the heck is this Mike?
And when you, do you recall, let me ask you this, as far as that particular night that you went out, did you drink any alcoholic beverages while you were out?
Yes.
And did you drink any of those at Mike's house?
Yes.
And do you recall generally what you were drinking that night?
Bud Light.
And when you were at Mike's house on that particular evening, do you recall about how long you were there for?
A few hours.
And do you recall how much you had to drink while you were at Mike's house?
I do not remember.
And so, in reference to you going out and going over Mike's house and having some beers over there, is that why you didn't drive?
Yes.
So you got a ride from someone over to Mike's house, you
Liar.
spent some hours there, and then do you recall where you went from there?
I went to my uncle's house.
And fair to say you have a relatively large extended family within Canton, is that correct?
Yes.
And so when you say you went to your uncle's house, which uncle's house did you go to?
My Uncle Brian.
And that would be same last name as yourself, so Brian Albert.
Yes.
And how is he your uncle? Sort of how is he related to you?
He is my father's brother.
And why did you go to your uncle's house that night?
It was my cousin Brian's birthday, so I went over to celebrate for a little bit with him.
So interesting. Pretty interesting. Now we're going to look at, yeah. No. No, no. Nope. Nope, 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 nope. Give me 1 second, guys. Every day, something different. Every day, something else. Let me see if I can get out to the trial channel. Easier for all of us. Let's see. By then, the lights of the Jeep. That's the Jeep, you guys. It was remote started right before they left. 59. They're about to walk out. Still waiting. Wait. 58. Okay, right here. And okay, lights of the Jeep are on. Actually, it's right around here. There's Nicole. There's Nicole coming in. It's funny because I see Nicole, but I don't see. There's Nicole right there. And she turns and she looks the other way. So there's people over here that went that way. And she's going that way. And there's Caitlin. So Caitlin, and they're talking to somebody else who's over here too. So they leave that way. And as they go towards the right, they're still over there talking, right? You see lights, see? Lights. And they're right in that corner. And guess who pops up? That's the car. You're going to tell me that I'm crazy, but that's the car. That's the same 2-door black car. You see it? Looks like an Acura. Could be an Acura. It could also be a 2-door Mazda. We're going to see it over here. There it is. So it left at 11:59, which means that by 12:04, it was already at 34 Fairview, which means that this car we see it's going to be at 12. Nope, even earlier. There's really no time. Like there's less than 4 minutes from the waterfall to the 34 Fairview. So this one starts. What do you mean 12:59? Let's go that way. What does it say 12:59? It's 12 a.m. Okay. Here we go. Wait. What the heck was that? Let's go. That's the first one. That goes. Here we go. Don't forget, he left at 11:59 from the waterfall. So he's about to come into the picture. 12:02. Green light, buddy. Keep going. 12:02:54. It's been 3 minutes. Ford F-150. No, we had to miss the car. That car had to already gone by. Yeah, we missed it because by then he should have already gone by. So I wonder if this Mike guy drives a Jeep. Colin's friend. Come on. Why did, oh my God. One. That's a 4H. Could have been a Cadillac too. Have the same sort of aerodynamics. The other one is a little squarey. So why is this not showing me that black car? You just showed it a second ago. Ford F-150. Now it should have already gone. Okay, let me see something. We're gonna do something. Give me 1 second, guys. I want to know if this is the same one. That is a Ford Edge too. So wow, check this out. I'm going to show you this one. Just pulled another one. Pulled a different video. Jesus Christ. People are like the masters manipulators of videos. It jumps. Did you see that? Okay. I thought it was that's a Ford Edge. That's a Ford Edge more than a Cadillac. It looks like a Ford Edge that turned. So that could have been Brian Albert. But before that, I'm looking for the black car. It's freaking edited, man. Show it to me. Look at, did you see that? No. No. Come on. Says over there from 12 to 5. And then look, oh my God. The times look at the times in yellow. Jump to 12:01. Hold on. I need to take a picture of that. I need to figure out if actually the caddy or is it the 4 edge? And at 12:02. So the car had already passed because at 12:02, um, pictures. Come on. Come on. Wow. Wow. Okay, so let me see. Let me see if I can find another source. I think I will, if they have anything that I can playlist. Let's see. Go. So there's 4 videos here. Washington and Chapman. That's one. Beautiful. I found another option. Hold on. Let's see. No, he had already passed. By then, he had already passed. Looks more like a Cadillac to me than a 4 edge. But I'm gonna double check. Come on. Let's look at something. For some reason, I remember that it was 12. And wait. There it is. There it is. There's the car. And this is the second time. Yep. The second time I see this car on Washington. It it jumps. They don't want us to know who's in this damn car or where he turned or where did he go. 12:11:04. The truck goes and then it's gonna jump from 12:11:08 or 9, 10, 11, 12 to 11:52. Wow, they chopped off like 40, almost 40 something seconds. That's interesting. And then the next time that we see it, it's around 12:15 coming back up, like if it's going back to the waterfall area. Wait. And there's the Jeep again. There's a cop car, patrol car, which could be anybody. They could be going to the Blizzard party at Hamilton's. And then there's Jen, right? And then there's the Ford Escape, the older Ford Escape. And I bet you, my friends, Colin Albert was driving that. He wasn't at the house. Nobody dropped him off. And then there's Karen, 15. And then the other car is going to come. This one has a different timing thing than the other one, but the black car is going to come from the opposite side. So there's a Ford. No, that's not a Ford. That's another truck. Come on, black car. Where did you go? Is that it? Nope. It's a Honda CRV. Van. Karen. What? What? Wait. What? Wait a second. Honda CRV. 12/19/21. I'm sorry, guys. Hmm. No. No, it didn't make sense. Nuh-uh. No barking.
Sir.
And you know how old your cousin Brian Albert Jr. was turning on that night?
I do not know.
When do you recall how you got from Mike's house to your uncle's house?
I believe Allie McCabe.
And do you know the address as far as your uncle's house?
34 Fairview Road.
Is that somewhere, your family's house, is that somewhere that you had been before?
Yes.
And so your memory is that Allie McCabe gave you a ride from Mike's house to the house on Fairview?
From what I remember, yes.
Now, Allie McCabe, as far as who is that to you? Or what, if any, kind of relationship you have with Allie McCabe?
It is my cousin's cousin. So not technically my cousin, but we're close and like we do family events and stuff like that together.
And you and Miss McCabe, are you in the same grade?
Yes.
And how long have you known each other?
My whole entire life.
So not blood related, but someone that you see at family events.
Yes.
And someone that was in the same grade and went to the same school as you?
Correct.
And that school, which school did you go to at that time?
Canton High School.
And do you recall about what time it was that you arrived at the house on Fairview?
Between 10:30 and 11 at night.
And did you have at that time any kind of curfew or time that you had to be home from your parents?
Usually around like right around before midnight.
And so was it like a hard fast, like 12 o'clock, if you're not here, you're grounded, or was it sort of around that time?
Just around midnight.
And so after, when you arrive there, you go into the house, is that right?
Yes.
And the house at 34 Fairview has a couple of different ways to get in the house in the front, is that correct?
Correct.
And do you recall which way that you went in that evening?
The side door near the garage.
And when you come into the house, where did you go within the house? What room did you go into?
The living room.
And then from the living room, where else did you go within the house?
Like the kitchen area.
And within the kitchen area of the house, who, if anyone else, was present in the kitchen?
From what I remember, my cousin Brian, Emily Fabiano, Sarah Levinson, and Catherine Duty, from what I remember that night.
Is it possible there were other people there that you just don't recall?
Yes.
And where were they situated sort of in the kitchen dining room area?
Like sitting around the kitchen table, I would say.
Now, after you arrived there, when you arrived there, what is it that they were doing when you walked in?
Just listening to music and having a couple of drinks.
And you come in, you greet people, is that correct?
Yes.
Now, the other people that you talked about, as far as beyond your cousin Brian Albert Jr., did you know those other people?
I knew of them. I wasn't friends with them or anything.
Fair to say they were older than you were, is that correct?
Correct.
So like Miss Levinson would have been older than you by at least a few years at that point.
Yes.
And same with reference to, I believe you said Miss Fabiano and Miss Duty, is that correct?
Correct.
Now, when you arrive at the house, did you have any other drinks once you got there?
Yes.
And do you recall what, if anything, you drank once you got there?
Bud Light.
The same as you were having before?
Correct.
You know how many that you had while you were at 34 Fairview?
I do not remember.
And over the course of the evening, whether it was at Mike's house or in between, or when you got to 34 Fairview, did you feel yourself as far as like overly intoxicated or drunk or anything like that?
No.
And as far as the other people that you observed at the house that night, does anybody stick out to you as being overly intoxicated or fall down drunk or anything like that?
No.
Now, with reference to when you came into the house, you mentioned there was music playing. How would you describe sort of the general mood within the house?
It was happy. It was, yeah.
Now, as far as that area where you first observed the people around the table in the kitchen dining room area when you came in, did you ever see anybody else go anywhere else in the house?
Not that I remember.
Did you yourself go anywhere else in the house?
No.
At any point in time in the evening while you were there, did you go upstairs or downstairs in the basement or out in the backyard or anywhere else besides the kitchen dining room area?
No.
Beyond maybe the restroom at some point?
Yeah. Other than that, no.
And about how long were you at your uncle's house that night to celebrate your cousin's birthday?
Probably around like an hour and a half.
And so about what time would it have been that you left?
12:10.
And with respect to your leaving the house, who, if anyone, did you contact to facilitate?
Rephrase.
Let me ask it in a much easier, better way. Okay. As far as your plans were concerned, as far as leaving the house, who, if anyone, did you reach out to get a ride from the house?
My friend Allie McCabe.
And how did you reach out to her?
I texted her.
And do you recall whether or not you had any sort of other communication? Well, let me step back and ask it this way. At that point in time, in January of 2022, you had Ms. McCabe's information saved as a contact in your phone. Is that correct?
Correct.
And on prior occasions, had you had a chance to, call that number from your cell phone that you had programmed in as Allie McCabe?
Correct.
And when you called that number, who, if anyone, answered the phone?
Allie.
Now, with respect to text communications, had you had text communications with that contact in your phone as Allie McCabe prior to that date of January 28th?
Yes.
And when you had those conversations, did you then also have subsequent sort of in-person conversations with Allie McCabe as well?
Yes.
And during those in-person conversations, was there any reference or anything talked about content that had been previously sent and communicated via text?
No.
Let me ask it in a better way. So you would have text communications with the person you put in as a contact as Allie McCabe, correct?
Yes.
And then subsequent to having those text communications, you would then speak to her either in person or over the phone, correct?
Objection.
The objection is sustained. Watch the form of your questions.
Following those text communications with the person that you had input in your phone, what, if any, verbal conversations would you have in reference to the content of the text communication?
I'm not sure what you're asking. But
Did you talk to her in person about something you had talked to her about in text? Now, with respect to Snapchat and your family, specifically your cousins, what, if any, sort of group Snapchat chains were there with respect to your family?
yes.
And specifically, who were those sort of group Snapchat chains? Who was included within it?
I have a Snapchat group chat with my cousins.
And you have cousins on basically your father's side and your mother's side, correct?
Not on my mother's side, no.
You have no cousins on your mother's side?
No.
And with respect to the cousins on your father's side, would it be all of your cousins that were included within that?
Not all of them, no.
And so who of your cousins would be included on those kind of group Snapchat chains?
My older brother, Chris, my younger brother, Dylan, my cousin, Kevin, Brian, Brendan, Caitlin, Kayla, and I believe that is it.
And if you recall, was there any communication on that group Snapchat chain in regard to Brian Jr.'s birthday on that date of January 28th or 29th?
No, not that I remember.
Now, with respect, so you reach out to Ms. McCabe via text, is that correct?
Yes.
And she agrees to pick you up?
Yes.
And at some point,
by now we know that he's not the type that is not going to be not drinking and driving. He was driving. That's one of the things that they're trying to keep under the rug, right? That he was drinking and driving at the same time. Nobody there. I don't know who this Mike is, and I don't know what car he's driving, but this Mike that apparently picked him up and dropped him off at his uncle's house, I think that's all bluff. Um, the fact that everybody's saying that he was already at the house and he was already there and he was not at the house when John was at the house, he was driving. I don't know whether he was in the backup, but he was driving. And I'm almost certain that this white car that follows the Yukon is in it. He's in it. He's got to be in it. So, let me see if I can show you guys this one. When I go back to this one, and the first thing that I want to do is I'm going to bring it back to, okay, let me go and wait until it switches. Let's see. Okay, there we go. I'm sure you can see that. Okay. At the time that this is, right, it starts at 10:53 on the videos that are available, right? Look how close. Look at Higgins. He's texting, right? Texting. I'm going to show you somebody else who's texting right there. I don't know if you can see Caitlin Albert. That's Caitlin Albert right there. She's also on her phone. You see it? Higgins, Caitlin, Brian is pointing at something, almost talking to Jen McCabe right here. This is when the whole video starts. But notice how closing time do Karen and John come in, and soon after, Kevin Albert walks in. Check this out. And then we're going to jump out. There it is, looking at the door. He's expecting people. You know, he's the only one there by himself. Nobody else is there. So, drinking. Brian Albert and yeah, then he's like, enjoying his conversation with Brian Albert. He's gonna go back to his phone in a minute. Kaylin is on her phone the entire time. Let me see if I can make it. I need to find a way to make it bigger, so you guys can see what I see. Caitlin, Brian, Higgins. There's Matt McCabe getting closer to Jen, whispering or saying something to her. You see it? And then there they are, 10:54:29. Oh my God. Kissing Judas. Or maybe not. That's what we're about to find out. He takes a step back and he points at Karen and John. Matt McCabe does. There they are, saying hello to everybody, pointing out they were over there, blah, blah, blah. Karen, look at the Karen that Karen gives to oh my God. And John is hugging Coliquisas. Shakes Matt McCabe's hand. Karen goes around, says hi to Jen, ignores Caitlin. That's pretty odd. And Nicole Albert comes back from the bathroom. That's why Brian Albert was able to give, look, lovey-dovey with Brian Albert. Give Karen a hug. And the three come together and they point out, oh, look who got here. And here's Higgins. This is when he starts. He takes a drink, gets up, starts getting antsy, and he starts looking at the door, expecting somebody else to show up. Look, come over here. Let me say something. Let me tell you something. Showed up, right? Yeah. That's fine. That's fine. Just chill out. Mm. Tries to go back to his chair. Approaches Brian Albert again. Ben's playing. Look, start playing with each other. Whoa. And 10:56, here we go. He goes back. He's saying, go back to your chair. Go back to your chair. Just sit down. Sits down. He takes a drink. It's going to take a drink in a second. There we go. Hands, drink. Looks at Karen. Ducks something down. Chucks one down. Puts a drink on the table. And he starts staring at the door. Right there. 1, 2, 3, 4. And he comes in. Now you see here how he punches at him and Brian goes, whoa, where are you going? What the heck, man? He pulls him aside and he gives him a hug. I think I know why that is. Because they had been coming back together from that trip, remember? But talking to another person yesterday, and after I thought about it, I think I know why that is. And they look at each other and they start, you know, talking about it. He goes all the way to the back and he starts talking to Chris Albert. Karen ignored Caitlin completely. She didn't ignore Higgins at all. I mean, she's right there, right? But when it came to Caitlin, he pretty much dismissed her. Like, you don't exist. Don't forget, Julie Alvarez is still here. But I'm going to take you back to $11:58. The image gets a little better so we can see a little better. This is pretty much okay. Okay, so up to now, everybody's still there, right? Right? Yeah, everybody's still there. You see Higgins, you see whatever. They do a shot and they all salute and whatever, right? But this is 11:57:17. Now, not even a minute goes by and everybody starts sort of like grabbing their coats and sort of leaving, right? And Brian is like, okay, man, so what are we doing? So, and they start heading towards the door. Kayling is the first one to start. I want you to have your eyes on John O'Keefe. I want you to look at John O'Keefe. We're going to look at this video a couple of times because I want you to look at John O'Keefe, his eyes when Caitlin lives, right? And wait, Chris is hugging Caitlin. Let me see if I can. Look. And Caitlin notices that John's back, he's giving his back to her, right? I'm going to show you what I mean. Just give me a second. I'm going to try to, don't forget I'm one-handed, man. Okay. Let me see if I can. Here we go. You see this thing? Do you see this? Look at John. Look at Kaylin going back. Kaylin is going back to where Chris is. Look what John's doing. Look. She turns. Look. Look. Did you see that? And that's when he does the, that is a JFK calls it, heel toe. And he starts going, come here. To who? To Chris. Chris is the one that's here. So the first group left. Whatever he told Higgins or he was going, it's going to be forgotten in the next 10, 15 minutes. Now, if we go back, we go further to, this is the part where I want to go. right at okay. I got right there. Who's there? That's Matt. That's Chris. That's Jen. That's John. That's Matt right there. They're all gathered in the same little corner. Jen. Look at Jen. I mean, this is like, this woman is still drunk. She's pathetic. And this is at 12:06, right? This goes on for about 5, 6, 7 more minutes. And John is looking at, look, like shaking hands and give me 5. Oh my God, this is so childish. But Matt is engaged talking to Chris Albert. John is kind of like hanging out, and now he's paying attention to what Chris and Matt is saying, but he also pays attention to what Jen is doing. Karen is right next to him. He looks at Matt, right? And they're talking about something, but he's trying to also keep engaged with this side of the group because Matt and Chris are on a conversation all by themselves, sort of, right? Jen is mocking, doing the mockery thing so she can keep the attention. Look at this, focused on her. I think Karen may have taken a picture of her. I don't know what happened there, but she's laughing at her, almost like, yeah, it's funny. Look, oh my God. But then Karen and Karina and Jen start moving. So Chris, Matt, Jen, John, and Karen are the ones who are together the longest, right? Karen is being very articulate. She's talking about something. Karina Kolikithis is just sitting there, and Mr. Kolikithis is on his phone. Look at Matt laughing, talking to John. Let me see. This one is one more minute. Right there. Matt goes back to the corner, gets his jacket, and that's when everybody starts going. Showing something on his phone. Let me put it on pause for a minute so I can see if I have. You guys, oops. Chelsea back. Does Nicole put something in Brian's pocket? Look at it. We're going to go back and look at it. This is what I want you to see. It's like Matt McCabe sort of like leans over the table right before they break away. And it shows John something on his phone. Chris Albert is also looking at it. You need to wait until Jen stops doing all his mockery, or maybe it already passed. Matt already has his coat. He's putting his coat on. Kolikithis starts moving. She's so cute. And then I don't know if at this point Jen is talking to Chris. These two, they are the same age, right around the same age, Chris and Jen. Chris went to Siberian school. Jen was the one who went to Kent High and schools. But they start leaving. Karen tells, sort of like waves at John that she's going to wait for him out there. His eyes are on her. Tells him, okay, I'll wait for you out there, okay? And he says, sort of like nods. But he stays with Chris and John, and Matt on the backup is in the corner again. He's talking to Chris, looks down, grabs his drink. Chris goes, looks at him, but goes to the bathroom. He looks at John, sees that Chris is going to the bathroom, and that's when John starts leaving. He did not move until Chris was out of the way, and something was up, and I think John knew it. Matt is an engineer in whichever field. He starts picking everything up because everything has to be where it has to be. Control freak is part of the nature. Chris comes out. Oh no, that's not Chris. That's a band person, and could be a band person. I'm not sure. Matt and Colin start waving at somebody. Come on, let's go. So I wonder if there's somebody else there that we don't get to see. Okay, and talking. Okay then. All right. See you all later. Who is that? It is attempting to come outside too. Who is that person wearing like a? I missed it. Here he comes. He comes from the corner. Let me see who this is. Who is this person? Big guy. Wearing a coat. Wait. Oh, it could be a van person. Big belly too. Huh. Dark hair though. See you all later. And then Chris comes out at 12:54. But I'm gonna go back until the time that Nicole left because Sherry Lee just alerted me of something. So did Nicole put something on Brian Albert's pocket? And we're gonna look and see where we are. 11:32. So it is further up. And we didn't focus at all on Kevin Albert right around this time, but we'll do it later. 11:36 and 11:37. Trying not to lose it. I don't know when she puts something on his pocket, so I don't want to get to 11:54, 58. It has to be a little earlier, so let's see. Okay, so there's Caitlin. She grabs something, gets her purse. Okay, come on, blah, blah, blah. And she's leaning at the table. Oh, sits back down. That's when they do the shots. At 11:46. Nicole is laughing, his mouth wide open. Who would have thought? Oh, I just clean. That's what I do. Just a witness. Come on, start leaving. 10 minutes out. I want to know what you put in his pocket. 11:50. I'm not waiting 8 minutes. 11:57. Let's go to 11:57. Yeah, so Nicholas is starting to. Jen and Karen over there. Sean in the corner. Chris, Brian Albert, and Brian Higgins. Oh. Hmm. Hmm. Why does it go back to 11:52 if we were already at 11? What the heck? Why did it go back to? You videos are tricking me. Here we go. Let me see what. She grabs some. No, I don't see it. Didn't see it. Maybe if it happened earlier, he's stopping him. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Are those Converse that Nicole is wearing? That's kind of odd. John is looking at the exit, towards the exit. Yeah. And Caitlin goes back, and John is looking straight at her, and Brian Albert, and Caitlin looks back and looks, and John is looking at the exit. Caitlin leaves, and he goes heel to toe. You're gonna have to go back and see if I missed it and where did I miss it. But I can go back and look too, Sherry D. Um, I have a feeling that I'm gonna go back out. Hold on. From there we go here. And they are all there. That car leaves. This dang thing that is floating in the middle doesn't allow us to see, like, where did the parties go, right? All I see is that the lights on that Jeep, it almost seemed as if it was remote started. Like it was cold, right? So it almost seemed to me if it was like somebody remote started it, because those lights were not on the entire time. Now, you see those two people walking around there? You see how, I don't know if you can, that was right at 11:59. There was two people walking around there. And then you're going to see lights that, and cars that start moving. Watch. That was right at midnight. But also around 12:02, 12:03, we also saw cars, specifically either a Ford Edge or a Cadillac, right in front of the what do you call it? The Canton Library. So lights come on. And we see that there are two different cars with lights on, one over here, one over there, and one car that already left. And that's right at midnight. And then the flag comes, and I can't see. Isn't it like convenient that that flag just happened to? Sucks, man. Sucks. We couldn't see. What we did see is that when Jen McCabe starts leaving in her Yukon, Chris goes to the left and jumps, almost like jumps on her on the car. Right? There's a Yukon coming in, and I know the flag is gonna be in the middle, but the Yukon is coming. You're gonna see Chris's head down here. That's the Yukon. Chris comes out. Watch him. It's right there. Looks and sees the Yukon and goes whoop, that way. So let's assume he jumped on that Yukon and followed Brian Albert by driving in the Yukon with Matt McCabe and Jen. But look who follows that Yukon. When the Yukon leaves and they are out, well, I hope this video doesn't make me look at this car that is coming over here. The white Ford Escape that's coming right after, right behind Jen's Yukon. Do you see that car? Yep. That's who I think was Colin Albert driving. It's the only thing that makes some sort of sense to me. Wait, check it out. Wait. Okay, no sound. Put something on Brian's pocket. Nicole comes out of the bathroom. Looks like she put something on his right pocket. You think like a cell phone or something? Was it right when she went to the bathroom after John and Karen arrived? Right. Because that's earlier. Check it out later. Okay. No, you're good. And 55. Okay, so it was right after. Okay, I'll look. And then does Brian then hand it to Brian H. Look later. Oh well. Yeah. That darn flag, when we can't see anything. But I do think that like the statements that don't make sense to me, yeah. It looks to me like he got on the Yukon too.
What's up, everybody?
Uh-oh.
Welcome back to another episode of The Lawyer You Know. And today we're jumping into a brand new trial, but not a new story, as another trial has already happened.
I'm not sure whether this was a coincidence, but the lawyer you know came up. So, and I didn't mean to stop him right there. So let's make sure that we look where I stopped him.
Happened in this case.
Yeah, that looks a lot better. So I'm going to show you guys this because let's go with this one for a second.
Are you made aware that she's at the home?
Yes.
And how is it that she makes you aware that she's at the home?
I got a text message from her that says I'm here.
And at any point in time while you were in the home, did Miss McCabe come inside the home?
No.
And so after you received that text message from Miss McCabe, did you respond?
Yes.
And do you recall what you responded?
Come in.
And from that communication, after you sent that, about how long was it between the time that you sent that and the time that you came out?
Between 30 seconds and a minute, I'd say.
And when you came out of the house, do you recall which door you came out at that point?
The side door next to the garage.
And when you came out that door, who, if anyone, did you?
So by now we know that text messages and things like that and all of this stuff can be fixed and sort of like, designed and put times and whatever. We know all of it. We know all of it because it's happened and we have lived it in our own flesh and bone. So we know that all of that is possible, right? So my point with all of this is, if you start questioning, oh, wait, I forgot. I almost forgot. If you start questioning the fact that, where did he go? Here we go. I'm going to show you this for a minute. I'm going to show you this. Share this tab instead. And you're going to have to be patient because you know that, and I hate to say it 15,000 times, but I'm not a lefty. I'm actually a righty. And the righty, damn cast on it. So that's why this is taking a minute. Okay, this motion right here, this thing, right? It all started, right? Was that John O'Keefe and the family of Paul O'Keefe, his family, blah, 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 state of John O'Keefe, entered a civil action lawsuit against Karen Reed, right? And that civil action lawsuit, they thought, well, we're going to sue her, we're going to sue the bars, we're going to sue all of it, right? They're after money. That's all they want. So Karen turns around and turns a countersuit on against Michael Proctor, Jory Buchanan, Ryan Tooley, the town of Kenton, Brian Albert, Nicole Albert, Jennifer McCabe, Matthew McCabe, and Brian Higgins, right? So, and I don't know why we didn't add more people. I would have added more people, but everything is done by design. There's a strategy, and I'm sure the lawyers know what they're doing. So, in this amendment complaint, there's a lot of little hidden secrets. Okay, don't forget that Karen did not include Colin on the countersuit. He didn't include Colin. That's pretty telling because it's like, why would you leave Colin out? Right? Did she spare him? Did she say, let's just not bother with Colin? Because we know out of the 11, 12 people, 13, 14 people that were involved in this whole thing, right? We know that there's a group of those people that actually threw punches and had something to do with it. And we know that the rest of the people were just all involved in the cover up and who's going to do what. And this is going to be your job and you're going to cover it up this way. And this is what you're going to say. And hey, Denise, let's call my sister and do a timeline so everybody can recite it and memorize it, right? We all know that. But it's funny because this March 13 motion that Karen entered into the courts that was reviewed and the whole thing sort of like gives you, if you look at it from a legal perspective, that's a different analysis. I'm looking at it, whatever they're telling me here is because they have evidence of. And then let's put it into even a deeper kind of perspective. Ms. Reed brings this action to recover for and address the actions of those actually involved in Mr. O'Keefe's death and the law enforcement officers who actively failed to ensure justice was sought and served in the aftermath of January 29th, 2022. That's a beautiful sentence there. So the reason why she's bringing this motion forward is to recover and to address actions of those actually involved. But what this tells me is Colin wasn't there. I mean, Colin is not in this motion. He's not addressed on this motion. If we are addressing the actions of those actually involved in Mr. O'Keefe's death, and she's not naming Colin, she's not involving Colin in any of this. She's sparing Colin. Okay. So what happens next is a direct result of this, because the defamation lawsuit, even though she spared Colin, it starts with Colin, right? Even though she spared, who was it she spared here? Oh my God. No. Um, okay, I lost it. But the defamation lawsuit that was entered against Karen and Kearney comes from Colin Albert, whom she spared on this motion. Also, it comes from Jen McCabe, not Matt McCabe, right? Brian Albert, not Nicole Albert, and Brian Higgins. So yesterday we talked about how I feel about each one of them, right? But when I dogged into the defamation thing, which is a different one, and I'm gonna flip to this one because this one is a 50-page one. The other one that I was showing you was a 54-page document. So this one is the one that talks about the defamation. And when you look at this one and you read through it and you start counting how many times somebody's names or money, the word money, income, generating gains, and all of that, it tells you that this is all about the money part, right? They're envious, they're jealous, they're after money. So are the O'Keefes. That's what they are doing. So, but they also talk about the fact that Karen was communicating through so and so and so and so. Well, guess what? Matt McCabe and Jen McCabe were also communicating and using each other to spare one of the other if anything went kaput. Because think about it. It's Jen McCabe's phone, right? But who's using it? Right? Now, they subpoena the extraction from Jen McCabe, but they don't subpoena the extraction from the actual user, right? So let's say that she actually took this polygraph text. If she did, or she hasn't, I'm not sure. But if she did, right, why would she not pass it with flying colors? Because at the end of the day, it was Matt McCabe using her phone from the time that they arrived to 12 Country Lane until the time that he left and handed it to Lank, and Lank brought it to 34 Fairview. The entire time it was Matt McCabe who had Jen's phone. What Jen had was her watch on her wrist. That's why we were able to determine that they were totally divorced from each other, because the watch was doing one thing and the phone was doing another, right? So let's put it into perspective and roll it backwards. Let's say that they asked for Matt McCabe's extraction, his Google Earth, his location, his movement on Apple Health data, his calls, the calls that he made. Right? You wonder why there were so many calls and text messages deleted from Jen's phone. Well, that's how Matt was communicating. Right? We never got Matt's stuff. Why didn't we? If Matt McCabe was also at the bar, just like Jen McCabe was, why didn't we get extraction from Matt McCabe? It doesn't make any sense, right? So my point with all of this is there are people that are only involved in covering it up. There are people that are involved and knew exactly what happened and how John got those punches and how did he either slip and fall or how he got hit on the back of his head or whatever happened, right? There are people that are directly related to it. Now, if you start thinking about who are those people and eliminating who's not involved, it leaves you with 4 individuals. If you further think about people who have been involved in situations like this, and like in the past, like with the Lopilatos, and they're not in active duty, but they activate themselves immediately after Chris Albert needs help, and they go back to work and they're half-assed drunk and whatever, right? You're gonna figure out that this is not the first time that Lank and Chris do something like this, right? This is not the first time that Lank, Good, and Chris do something like this. This is not the first time that it takes Lank and Chris an entire day before they even go to Kenton Police and report something. Now, if you think about Chris and you think about Matt McCabe, what's common in between them? None of them were anywhere to be found the morning of January 29th, 2022, in the morning, because Chris didn't go with Julie Albert to deliver donuts. And did you know that this is actually Chris's nephew and not Julie Albert? So why didn't he go with Julie Albert? There was a blizzard, right? There was a blizzard coming. Matt McCabe did not go with Jen either, right? Because what? He had to go in a different direction. Well, same direction until he veered to the right and he delivered that phone. So the phone could make it back to 34 Fairview before everybody else and their mother showed up. Now let's think about Kelleher, right? There's a video that just surfaced and somebody pointed it out, slowed it down. And the driveways, there's marks that these driveways were plowed. So it tells you where that Jeep was, right? Another thing that I was going to ask, I thought about it yesterday. On January 29th, 2022, when all of this happened, and they thought that they were going to blame it on the plow, that's what it was implanted on Carrie Roberts' brain, on Karen's brain, and that's why she kept repeating it. And that is part of projecting, deflecting, and gaslighting somebody into manipulating them to do and say whatever it is that we want them to believe and say. When you are a Karen Reed, having been drinking the night before, doing shots and not sleeping, waiting on John to come home, perhaps having another drink or two, and being all distraught about this, it is very easy for you to succumb to be victimized or taken advantage of, just like Gary Roberts was. And we're going to talk about those later. But if there was nothing and Higgins was not involved in anything and nothing happened, on January 31st, which is the following Monday, Brian Albert already extracted whatever he wanted from his phone. He didn't extract all the communications that he had with John. He extracted what he thought and deemed relevant. He went to the FBI mezzanine lobby, whatever, and he extracted what he deemed relevant. I'm going to remind you of something else. He also, this is on the 31st, which is the Sunday, which is the Monday. The 29th was the Saturday. 28th was Friday. So Friday, Saturday, and the Sunday is the 30th. So by the 31st, he had already extracted all of that stuff, right? If you were not involved in anything, if you had nothing to worry about, if you never saw John, why would you run on January 31st and extract all this stuff and get a lawyer? What was it that you were proactively trying to be ready for? Now, I know that on the 29th, all the cops and everybody and their mother were there, and Lank showed up and Good showed up, good old boys. The good old boys. I know that they were all there, and you thought that you already knew that we were going to pin it on the girl, right? So were you trying to help back up your story? Were you trying to help Karen not get pinned or get pinned? Were you trying to cover and keep discreet the information that had transpired on previous text messages between you and John? Why did you go on the 31st and got ahead of the game and try to get everything that you needed so you could proactively be prepared? I need an answer to that question. And I want to know whether it was calling Albert, who was driving that car. I want to know that. I want to know who was driving the black car. And I want to know, why didn't we get anything on Matt McCabe? Why didn't we get anything on Lank? Why didn't we get, well, we're about to, on Good? Why didn't we explore or really scrutinize the surveillance camera on Kelleher's driveway? The same video camera that was used to say that it was caught all on camera and never surfaced. Why didn't we subpoena that camera? Why didn't we? Why didn't we subpoena every single camera around that neighborhood within that time frame? Because we were not only looking for John and Karen, right? We were also looking for potential cars that could have been driving around and in that area, making sure that their jobs were completed and that they did what they had to do per agreement, right? Now, I don't know if you guys heard, but I've heard lately that right before the grand jury, either Karen Reed or Karen Reed's team placed a call to Brian Higgins before he testified. Have you heard that out there? Because I have. And I didn't know that. That came to a surprise to me. And I thought I know most of it. I guess, there's still areas of improvements and learning. So, in all of us. So, I didn't know about that. What I do know is that all of these people, all of these people had a role to play in what happened to John. 4 of these people had something to do directly with what happened to John. And if we are looking into process of elimination, I'm going to tell you right now, Jennifer McCabe, Brian Albert, Colin Albert, and Brian Higgins had nothing to do with causing John's death. Jennifer McCabe, Brian Albert, Colin Albert, and Brian Higgins had a lot to do with covering up the death of John O'Keefe. But they didn't have anything to do with causing John's death. So that's going to leave me with a handful of people that I am eliminating one by one. And right now, I have somebody has to prove to me that Lank didn't have anything to do with this. Somebody has to prove to me that Carrie Roberts, she needs to prove to us that she did not go to Brian Hamilton's house. Somebody needs to prove to me that Kevin Albert was not involved. And somebody needs to prove to me that Matt McCabe is not involved and Chris Albert is not involved. So I have 5 people, right? 5 people. Kevin, Chris, Matt McCabe, Lank, and who am I missing? Oh my God. Kevin, Chris, Matt, Lank, Kevin, Chris. I'm missing somebody. Who am I missing? Oh my God. I just need to go here and these documents tell us exactly who is who. So it's not Ryan Higgins. It's not Jen, not Nicole. It's not Ryan Tooley. It's not Yuri Buchanan, and it's not Proctor. So that's going to leave me with Matt McCabe, Chris Albert, Kevin Albert, Lank. I'm missing a 5th person, and now I can't remember who it is because I already discarded the other ones. It's not Colin. Colin was there, but it's not Colin. Brian either. Not Brian Higgins. I have a lot of work to do. I'm still not even halfway done with this one. These things take a minute. A few distractors that have brought me to taking time for me, but keep this one short. I always say that, and then before I know it, I've already been here for over an hour or so. So I want to do a focus group because I want somebody to challenge a couple of the ideas and the theories that I have put together along the ways. I'm gonna reach out to. I'm gonna put a comment out there, and whoever answers that comment, I'm gonna try to reach out to those people based on everybody's comments and the feedback that I have gotten from everybody. I really, really, really would like to have Lisa Davy in these conversations because all of my conversations with her back and forth are so in tuned, but she still challenges me in certain areas where there was something that I missed, or like Julie Albert. Oh my God, did you miss Julie Albert? So, also Sherry, but I'm not going to tell anybody what to do. I'm not going to force anybody to do what they don't want to do. All I want to do is make sure that we're not missing anything. I think doing a focus group could be beneficial just because we would never ever made sense to me why Chris walked home. Yeah, he never walked home. He saw Jen and Matt and they were waiting for him, so he jumped in the car. That's why even when the car, the Yukon, pulled up in that driveway and Jen got out of the car, Chris and Matt were on the phone with John. So there was a conversation going on and they knew. And if John was completing his waste search, trying to figure out how far he was from 34 Fairview, guess what? Well, Chris Albert and Matt also knew how far was Chris from where he was. So I scan your QR code to send. Oh, you are really? Yeah, it's. Oh, I don't know how to do it. So I don't know how to do it. Everybody's asking me, and I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to put the what do you call it? The PayPal sale thing. I don't know how to do that. I gotta call somebody I trust to figure out how to do that. But yeah, everybody's sitting asking me to put the Venmo PayPal situation, and I still haven't. Kelleher cameras, yes, should have caught everything. So, um, and wait, what are you asking? This house, the Albert's bedroom window. Yeah, I know. But they first said that the whole accident was caught on camera and that it was Karen who did it and that they had it on camera. And then the camera, the surveillance video disappeared. And then, I don't know if they ever clear that or not, but that's what they posted on CBS News in Boston, that they caught it on camera and they lied about it. So, making up. Lank had some making up to do. Brian Alberts wore after Lank didn't for Tim hit and run oil leaf. Well, and I also heard other things like there was some sort of situation where Brian Albert was hitting on Trish. Right? I also heard that there was beef that it was like old, but then Carrie Roberts also confirmed that these people hold grudges with other people forever, right? So, and she was friends with Kevin Albert and Lank and Trish. So she could have been referring to Brian Albert and Lank having a beef that they could never overcome. Who knows, right? Carrie Roberts 911 call. Okay, so but her story has evolved since then and the original call. Yes, it has. And not only that, she has added, she has added other stuff that for me, it's almost like, why would she? If you, and that's why I said, and I read something on Reddit too, it's like if you get Carrie Roberts, give her like a glass of wine or something, that woman she will trip over her own words. She has no self control of what she says. You ask her one thing and she goes on a tangent on something else. And we can all do that, right? Like I cannot accuse anybody of doing that because I'm the first one. But it goes to tell you how she can't not only like keep her mouth shut, when somebody asks you a question, a specific question, like what color is that blouse? Oh wow, thank you. That's a pretty blouse. What color is that? I can't see. Is it pink or is it orange? No, it's kind of like a coral color. That's it. Stop. Don't start saying, well, some people say that it looks like a ring. No. It just, it's a peach looking shirt, or it's black, or it's white. There's no need to continue to talk. I mean, that recent interview, she kept going and going and going like there was no tomorrow. But then I also found something. I think I marked it. Hold on. Make it look like it's conducted a Google search. Hello, plow. Which version is this? Because I have a. Look at this. Proctor did not search the house despite of the fact that Mr. O'Keefe was discovered without a winter coat, without the hat, that several witnesses had said that he was wearing, and without his left shoe. Jennifer McCabe, who turned her phone over only after making setting changes to the phone on February 2nd. Not only did she do that, that extraction was handed to the MSP on a flash drive. I don't know if you know that. Let's see. That's how I found out that the Karen Reed's case, it was on video. Yep. I was actually up there tournament, and it got canceled because of the blizzard. So we were all stranded in a freaking hotel room. And on the local news, it came up, the accident, and the girlfriend hit him, and they were saying it was all caught on camera. And at that point, it's like, Jesus Christ, it's like, talk about rage. And my husband looked at me and he goes, well, she's probably Latin. And I'm going, what are you saying? No. And yeah. But no, it wasn't. There's no way she had enough time to call multiple. No, she didn't. And her little cynical comment as far as like, why would she call me? Why would she call one of her friends? She wasn't calling you because you were her friend, you idiot. She was calling you because you were John's friend. And Karen didn't have any friends in Canton whatsoever. I mean, her friends were John's friend. That's how it works. So Gary Robert told Good she had already called hospitals before calling 911. There is no way she had time. Yeah. And we'll never know because they never asked for an extraction on her phone either. Now, Good is in a transition sort of phase, right? Where we don't know what we're going to get out of Good stuff because he's under investigation. I haven't heard whether they're finished or if anything else has shown up. I haven't heard. Recent interview, Carrie, she had the nerve to say, and now she's realized that she was in shock that morning. Really? So how can you explain that? She was in shock, but she goes, well, I don't know her car. Well, I'm going to drive my car instead. Well, let me get my car ready. And, I don't know what to think of her. I really don't. At the end of the day, I know. And I don't know if you remember, but I wanted to ask. Wait. Proctor secretly communicated with the Alberts on his personal phone, deliberately back-channeling those communications to circumvent his state-issued device and use his sister as a conduit. Well, so did Matt and Jen McCabe. Because they were talking, right? But they were not using their own phones. They were trying to cover for each other because if they ask for your phones, then let me do it so you don't do it. Because if you have to do a polygraph, well, then I'll do it and not you. So everybody does that, right? Like, for instance, in multiple occasions, Proctor disclosed critical and confidential information about the investigation to his sister, who passed the information to her close friend, Julie Albert, Brian Albert's sister-in-law. Julie Albert then passed that information on to the rest of the family and the House of Defendants. Part of these communications included Julie Albert promised to buy Proctor a thank you gift. I don't know if you guys know that, but that is a federal freaking crime. That's bribery. That's bribery right there. That little thing, that is evidence that is clear. They don't have to prove that it was that they bought the gift, that they give the gift. They don't have to prove anything. That is bribery for somebody who occupies a government position. So there was something else that this is just version one. Okay, Kevin Albert, for instance, his name shows up like so many times on the corrected version that it's not even funny. And it wasn't like that until we found him. Now, I know these motions take forever, and I'm not taking credit. Like, well, Kevin Albert showed up more in this motion because we found him at the waterfall on March 8th. No, I'm not doing that. But the fact that his name does show up a lot more than it did on the original countersuit, absolutely yes. Somebody's listening, and that's why I said yesterday what I said or the day before. So whether they were correct, whether they were at the correct location, or whether they were even welcome to a late night party. So Miss Reed was reluctant to attend the party for several reasons, including that she was unsure whether they were at the correct location and whether they were even welcome to the late night party. Now, why is that? Well, because by the time that she got to 34 Fairview, it was so dark and somber, and there were no cars there that it didn't look that there was a party going on. And if you think about it, what if there wasn't a party going on? What if all of these people were not already at 34 Fairview? And you know why I say that? Because Colin Albert was not already at 34 Fairview when John showed up. The white car, the third car, okay, let's put it this way. If Nicole is gone in the Cadillac, right? And Brian Albert left with Brian Higgins, right? And the Forescape, which is the Scape, the white one, the older one, is gone. There are 3 cars missing from that driveway. The only car that is a sitting duck on that driveway is Brian Albert's Ford Explorer, right? And the house is dark. So Jen shows up at 12/19/22, parks her car right behind the Nicole Albert Cadillac, right? She gets out of the car and rushes to the house. The Yukon is still on, right? And everybody starts rolling after. That makes more sense. That makes more sense. Now, if over the front door of the garage, Mr. O'Keefe walked towards the front door, garage door area of the house. And they're adding here. This is pretty important, because if they're adding this here, it's because they have evidence of this. Enter one of the 2 doors. According to O'Keefe's health data, his final steps covered just enough distance to get the foot of the driveway and into the house or garage. And they have that too. And they had it in the other 2 trials. It's just that they were handicapped. They were limited by whatever Aunt Bev wanted them to share or not. At some point and after the house, garage, O'Keefe was involved in a physical altercation inside the house or garage. During that altercation, the McCulver's German Shepherd attacked him, blah, blah, sustained multiple dog bites and scratches on the right arm. Suffered incapacitating countercoops, back of his head, failing backwards, striking a rich surface. They also have evidence of that. Always garage contains rich surface. They also have evidence of that. Contrast, the head wound could have not been caused by a vehicle striker falling backwards into a flat, blah, blah, blah. Criminal investigation. Because of their knowledge, and this is why it has double call. Because of their knowledge. Whose knowledge? The McAlberts. The Alberts, the McCaves, and Higgins, house defendants, knew that calling for medical care to help save Mr. O'Keefe would trigger immediate, irreversible risk of their criminal exposure. So let's read this backwards. House of defendant knew that calling for medical care to help save Mr. O'Keefe's life would trigger immediate, irreversible risk of their own criminal exposure because of their knowledge of criminal investigations. So there were criminal investigations. So then we stop and think, okay, that we know of, right? There was an incident in 2017 between Eddie Hernandez and Brian Albert. Right? So we don't know that whether this is one. We have no idea whether it was work related. I mean, he was working for the gang unit, right? So there could have been other investigations going on regarding Brian Albert specifically. In regards to Chris Albert, well, he had a record, right? He has a record. I mean, that's, you cannot argue that or rebuttal that. He's got a record. So the whole house has a record, right? Hence why they were trying to say 34 Fairview and make boo-boos. So if anybody sort of like looked for 34 Fairview, they couldn't find it, right? I think Lank was backing up Jen McCabe. I think Jen McCabe played a critical role. I think Lank came to rescue Jen. I think Proctor came to rescue Colin Albert because they were very close. Colin made a mistake and even said Auntie Courtney because that's how he calls her or refers to her. So, Lank could have not been like, volunteering to help. And I think part of his disgruntledness sitting on the witness stand was the fact that he was trying to make peace with what he was doing. Because in one hand, he couldn't care less about Brian Albert, but in another hand, he had to protect his friend because he's been friend with Chris Albert and Jen McCabe for a long time. So Chris and Jen were the closest in that group. Also Kevin Albert because they're closer around the age thing, right? But if something was to happen and Brian Albert ran to see what was it that happened, that dog was going to run after Brian Albert. So that you can't argue that either. That dog was going to protect its owner. So, they have evidence of this too. At least 5 of them. How do you know? At least the 5 of them agreed on a simple plan to exonerate themselves and implicate Cameron Reed. 5 of them. We know that Jen was in the house. It had to be. Brian and Jen are on a different category. Matt McCabe knows how to box. He was also one of the last ones seen at the waterfall bar with Chris Albert. We know that Kevin Albert played a role here. Kevin Albert. We know that where Chris Albert is, Lank is. There's Lank. So Brian Higgins, we know he got stood up by John because he was asking John, where are you? Are you coming here? Where are you? Whatever it was that he agreed to meet with John, John never showed up because it was Jen McCabe who changed the plans right around the time that they left. I mean, we need to look at this from a point of logic, right? And 5 of them. So I have Lank, Chris Albert, McCabe, which coincidentally were also the last to leave with John O'Keefe, right? Right. And then Kevin Albert, half of them agreed on a simple plan. That includes Jen. Sometime during the night, they repositioned a Fort Edge. Yep. Now, I don't like when they keep doing this because the search didn't happen at 12:27:40. The search deletion attempt happened at 2:27:40. Before something gets deleted, it needs to previously exist. If you keep asking Jen McCabe if she searched House Sloan to die in the cold at 2:27 a.m., she's going to say no. And the reason why she's going to say no and it's going to look truthful is because she didn't. What she tried to do at 22740, and actually Matt McCabe, was delete the search. So look how it says the illogical route to 34 Fairview was intentional. They needed to delay their arrival, right? Because they needed to make sure that they were all home before she got there. Huh. Yeah. Yeah, but Lank also said he was the one who made the statement that it looked like he had been involved in a fight. So which one is it, right? Because the first natural thing, truthful, the only truthful thing that came about when Lang pulled up and talked to that person on the phone, whether he slipped or whether he whatever, was that it looked like Mr. O'Keefe was involved in a fight. So, you know, yeah, they should have never been assigned. So, no, I don't believe so much unrecoverable, but you cannot, take back time and try to. It's gonna take a little time. Now, I'm going to tell you what happened here. Before Jen McCabe and Matt McCabe arrived home after they dropped off the girls, right? They got home at 2:12:38. But before they went home, do you know where they drove by? They drove by John O'Keefe's house. Talk about consciousness of guilt. They drove by Jen O'Keefe's house. I don't know if you remember that I told you that it is a perfect triangle, the 3 points between John O'Keefe, Brian Albert, and Jen McCabe's house. So before she went to her house, she had to go all the way to the right, and drive through Pleasant and Meadows, and then go all the way, sort of like if she's heading east, right? Southeast, to go then to her house. Why would she do that? She could have skipped going through John's house to go to her house. She could have taken the same shortcut that Matt took the morning off when he brought the phone to Lank. She didn't. She drove by John O'Keefe's house, maybe because she wanted to make sure that Karen was there already. Right? Now, her phone was unlocked at 2:23:41. Right? And he says that there were messages that were sent at 2:25:11 and 2:25:26. Screenshots were deleted at 2:26:37. What do you think those screenshots are for? If she's trying to delete a search at 2:27:40, the screenshots that she's trying to delete are the result of How Long to Die in the Cold that she already took, right? She had already taken, and she had already sent by text messages to 2 numbers. So her Apple Health recorded steps. Now, this is on her watch. The watch is the one that does that. So at 2:14, at 2:15, at 2:16, at 2:17, at 2:18, at 2:19, at 2:21, at 2:22. At those time, what was it? What else was happening? Because Brian Higgins and Ryan Albert were also butt calling each other. 2:23. I'm going to stop right there at the 2:23 mark, right? Because that coincides with her testimony in trial when she said, I didn't search How Long to Die in the Cold at 2:23 in the morning. I did not delete that search. Remember? She slipped too. And she confirmed that the search was done at 2:23 in the morning. The deletion of the text was done at 2:27:40. But How Long to Die in the Cold did not happen at 2:27:40. Its deletion did. Now, what happens at 2:31:44 is that at that point, Jen set an alarm or an alert on her iWatch, almost to get woken up or whatever. And right around 2:31, 2:33, 2:30, whatever, she sort of like dozes off. Her phone is downstairs. Her watch is upstairs. Now, I've said this lightly a few times here and there. But I have done tests with my iWatch, and I have done this several times to be able to sort of like to try to debunk my own theory on this. But what I think that the result of how long to die in the cold was approximately 90 minutes, anywhere between 45 and 90 minutes, right? Initially, she thought that they were going to put the body out somewhere around 2:30, right, in the morning, and that they only needed somewhere until 4 o'clock until the hypothermia would had completed done their job or there were any signs of hypothermia so they could continue on with their plan, right? If Jen McCabe at 2:30 in the morning, an alert or some sort of alarm to be able to doze off, and she didn't want to pass sleep or doze off past 4 o'clock, let's say she set it up so it would alert her 10 minutes before 4 o'clock. Right? And that is that trigger event that you see at 3:50.44 and then at 3:51.56. There are two trigger events which indicate that nothing happened on Jen's watch from 2:30 something until 3:51 and 56 minutes. She was up 9 minutes there to 4 o'clock. And when you do the calculations, it's almost about 9 minutes, 90 minutes, which coincides with a screenshot she probably got that said anywhere between 45 to 90 minutes. That's that's how long it takes to die from the cold. So there's so much to scrutinize, and but we're going to continue on a different day. I'm sorry, I'm a little distracted. There's a few things that happened yesterday, but I did say that I was going to go live today, and I did not want to not go live today. But nothing to worry about. It's just, tricks of the trade, stuff that happens, and you roll with the punches and keep going. So I'm going to pause it and end it. I have a few calls that I have to make that are related to all of this too. So yeah, they call records. And I'm gonna try to have a better delivery of a next show. I would say even if I do a video here too, there are videos that are being done. Somebody's helping me put together videos with stuff that I have. The only thing I have to do is like send him the voice and then he puts it together and he helps out. I decided to sort of like hire somebody to help me on this. And it is temporary. I'm trying to see how it works out. I don't like relinquishing control of things that I want to have control of. Right now, with the situation with the hand, I don't have anything else to do. I don't have another option. The lives are a little easier for me, even though they're still challenging because I can control it myself and my desk goes up and down, in and out, and I can just, do whatever. But I will continue to do what I normally do. And then I promise I'm going to try to put something more structure for the next time. And at least something that will make this life laugh. Right? Thank you all for coming. Charity, I appreciate you. Yeah. hmm Yep. Oh, she was. I wonder what was that surprise, right? Like, I wonder what was that surprise? Like, Jesus Christ. This guy, I don't know if I showed you this, but this picture of this guy. You remember the guy that walks into the waterfall at the same time that we see um, what's her name? Right after Jen and Karen, somebody enters the waterfall with Kevin Albert. I've been trying to see who is this guy. I've been trying to figure out what does he look like? Like who could it have been? Because obviously he is the owner of that car. The car that they drive in is owned by this guy. This guy has the fob in his pocket. He's got the fob in his pocket, and he's the one that locks that car. But when he comes in, somebody that looks like that guy walks in with Kevin Albert. And I've been trying to figure out, who is this person? What does he look like? I mean, did anybody else also have some sort of beef or situation with um with John? He is, took the jacket off and he's there talking to them. I'm not even gonna get closer to making an attempt to, you know, restructuring what I think the motive is until I have more pieces of this thing together. It's too premature. And I don't mind adjusting and changing my narrative. I don't mind if something comes up and I have to modify or adjust here and there. I don't mind that. But the motive, no, I'm not playing with that. I'm going to put that together after I feel comfortable, because that I won't, I you can't, it's, it just kills your credibility if you change that. If you end up having to, well, we're all humans, let me change it and adjust it. No, it doesn't work that way. Just take a setback. It pays to be prudent. Look, and wait until, yeah. Hey, Kevin, you see that guy? That guy that is walking behind him? When we look at the waterfall video at the outside of it, and you watch him come in, that looks like the person that I just described. You put a beanie on him. Absolutely. We're going to continue to do this, sweetheart. We're not going to quit. I mean, I know that there's a lot of stuff come to light, and I know that it's because of what happened to John. I know slowly, he's it hasn't been in vain, right? At the same time, it's like I can't let it go for some reason. I can't let it go. I need to know who did this to him. We're down to 5 people, and I can't even remember who the fifth. Now I know. I remember. Since we're on this praying that we're gonna try to be a little bit more discreet and not give the enemy any ammo that they could use against us. I'm going to, some things we're going to keep private, some things we're going to share, some things we're going to blow the horn and we're going to let everybody know what's going on. And the strategies and whatever it is that we find that could help in this situation, we're going to try to make sure that the right people know. We're going to try to make sure that the right people are communicated of what's going on. But we're going to share that after we jackmate the queen or the king, right? Not before. This focus group, 3, 4 people. We're gonna do a private StreamYard between us and Lisa Davy. If you listen to this or hear it at some point, and Charity, let me know if you feel comfortable with it. I'm gonna make caricature thingies for your faces, and then we can all come in with our caricature faces, and we're just gonna chit chat and shoot the breeze and talk for a couple of hours, and it's just about a matter of time. When do you guys have time, and when does it work for everybody? So thank you all for coming. I appreciate it. I'm also going to do a raffle. I put the 212 people that have subscribed so far. And starting on May for Mother's Day. But you know what? 39% of my followers are men. How is that? That is like different, right? Like I never thought of that, but it doesn't matter. Mother's Day, Father's Day is coming. I put all of the names and I did like little stickies, like every time. And every time somebody comes on a live, I know who comes in on the live. So I enter the names. And then what I'm going to do is on the 10th, which is Mother's Day, a couple of days prior, I'm going to do a raffle, and whoever name we pick up, and I'm going to try to make it transparent. I'm gonna figure out how to do this, but yeah. So, and that person wins, but I have to find a way to also reward you guys, because I know that it's been challenging when you're starting this thing with no prior knowledge and no help and just trying to figure it out. And then the hand thing, I know that it's been difficult and also enduring. And then I dare to judge the interview between Carrie Roberts and the Note My Objection lady. But have a great day. I will be available for another hour or so if anybody wants to reach out, and then I'll talk to you guys soon. Hey, you're welcome. You're welcome. You're awesome. You're all awesome. Have a great day, you guys. Thank you for coming. And yep, that is a wrap up.